Most Canadians spend decades planning for retirement. They save consistently, they watch their accounts grow, and they pick a retirement date. Then they get there and realize, retirement's not quite what they expected. Because the biggest surprise in retirement usually are not the investment surprises. They are the planning surprises, the tax bill and registered withdrawals, government benefit clawbacks, healthcare costs people assumed would be covered, and the lifestyle shift that sounds great until it actually arrives. I'm Kris Dureau with Green Private Wealth. In this video, I want to walk you through the 5 retirement realities that catch a lot of Canadians off guard and what to think about before they become expensive mistakes. So let's get into it. First surprise is the tax bill on registered account withdrawals. Most Canadians spend years hearing the same message. Contribute to your RRSPs, get the deduction, let it grow tax sheltered. And that advice is not wrong, but what often gets missed is this. Every dollar in your RRSP will eventually be taxed as income when it comes out. Not a capital gains rate, not at a dividend rate, at your full marginal tax rate. And that becomes especially important later in retirement. At age 71, your RRSP has to convert to a RRIF, and the government requires a minimum withdrawal every year, whether you need the money or not. The first year, the minimum is roughly 5.28% of the account balance. By age 80, it rises to 6.82%, and by age 90, it's over 11%. So if someone has $1 million RRSP at age 71, the first required withdrawal is $52,800. And that gets added to everything else already on the tax return. CPP, OAS, pension income, non-registered investment income. You can see how that all adds up. This is where people get caught off guard. A lot of Canadians assume retirement automatically means lower tax bracket. But with a large RRSP, those mandatory withdrawals can push the taxable income much higher than expected. The lesson is not that RRSPs are bad. It is they need to be planned properly on the way out, not just the way in. For many Canadians, one of the biggest planning opportunities is drawing down registered assets gradually in lower income years before mandatory RRIF withdrawals begin. But that only works if you plan early enough. The second surprise, old age security clawback. A lot of Canadians think of OAS as a simple government benefit that starts at age 65, and it does, but it is also income tested. In 2026, the maximum monthly amount is about $743 for Canadians aged 65 to 74 and about $817 for those 75 and older. For a couple, that can add up close to 18 grand a year. But once your net income goes above $95,323, you start losing 15 cents of OAS for every dollar above that threshold. For 2026, OAS is fully clawed back at about $154,753 of income for those aged 65 to 74 and about $160,696 for those 75 and older. Now, for some people that threshold sounds high, but it becomes more reachable than expected when multiple income sources just start stacking up together. The pension, CPP, RRIF withdrawals, all that investment income. And that clawback matters because it's not just a lost benefit, it also acts like an extra 15% marginal rate on top of regular tax for income in that range. This is why withdrawal planning does matter. You want to think carefully about where that retirement income is coming from, when to take it, and how these pieces all kind of fit together. And this is also where the TFSA becomes so valuable, because TFSA withdrawals, they don't count as income for OAS clawback purposes in the years that you may need more income. The third surprise is the healthcare gap. The one does not get enough attention in retirement planning, but it's real. During the working years, many Canadians have employer-sponsored benefits helping cover things like dental, vision, prescriptions, and extended healthcare costs. Then they retire. Coverage disappears. And while the provincial healthcare covers a lot, it doesn't cover everything. People though assume it will. Dental care is not universally covered, and while some Canadians may qualify for programs like the Canadian Dental Care Plan, many retirees still need to plan for out-of-pocket costs. Vision care is limited, hearing aids can be expensive, prescription drug coverage can have some gaps, and those costs, they're not small. A dental implant can easily cost several $1,000s. A pair of hearing aids can cost several thousand more. And ongoing prescriptions can become a meaningful annual expense. The mistake is not that these costs exist. The mistake is failing to build them into the retirement plan. A better approach is to treat healthcare as a real retirement expense from the beginning, not a surprise later. The fourth surprise is retiring too early without properly modeling what that decision means. It doesn't mean you can't retire early, it just means you have to have the planning involved around that. A lot of people reach 60 or even their late 50s and start thinking, maybe they can just be done. Sometimes they're burnt out, sometimes markets have been strong, sometimes retirement simply feels closer than it used to. But the math changes quickly when retirement starts earlier than expected if the proper planning hasn't been done. A 60-year-old Canadian retiring today has a realistic chance of living to 90 or beyond, which is great news. This is potentially 30 years of retirement, but funding 30 years is very different from funding 20. This is where a lot of do-it-yourself retirement projections can become too optimistic. People underestimate inflation. They overestimate portfolio returns, and they often overlook sequence of returns risk where poor market performance early in retirement can do much more damage than same returns later. They also underestimate how spending can change with age, especially when healthcare needs do increase. Retiring at 60 instead of 65 means fewer years of contributions, fewer years of compounding, and more years drawing down from the portfolio. It can also mean giving up some of the value that comes from deferring CPP. The point is not that retiring early is a mistake. Retiring early can be a great thing. It's important to take in the considerations around that. It's not all about just delaying so there's more money. What we're getting at is that the point is that it needs to be modeled properly and planning needs to be in place. And the fifth surprise, maybe the most important one of all, it is the emotional reality of retirement. Because for a lot of people, the hard part is not the money. It is the Monday morning. A lot of times people say, oh, I can retire no problem. But they haven't actually really thought deeply about what they're going to do every day. Work gives people more than income. It gives them structure, routine, identity, social connection, and a sense of purpose. Work is not all bad. However, retirement can remove all of that almost overnight, which means you just need to be prepared for it. A lot of people spend years thinking about what they want to retire from, but what they should actually be thinking about or planning for is, what are you retiring to? Because that really matters. Even when the finances are in good shape, retirement can still feel disorienting if there's no structure, no rhythm, and no real sense of purpose behind it. An example that we used to go through with our clients is I would put a piece of paper with basically 21 empty squares, 7 days a week, morning, afternoon, and evening. And I would ask this soon-to-be retiree, just let's go through this, dry run, fill in what you think you would be doing in those days. Well, if a golfer really liked to golf, they simply realize, I like to golf, but I don't think I'm going to fill in the whole page with golf. And then after we would work through it, many times there'd be a lot of empty white squares staring back at the pre-retiree in the face. And that's where it's not to scare people, but it's just important to go through those planning exercises just to make sure that we're on track for the upcoming retirement and to enjoy retirement. The retirees who adjust best are usually the ones who've just thought about how they want to spend this time, filling in all the white squares. What does a good week look like? Who are they staying connected to? What gives them the energy? The best retirement plans are not just financial plans. They are life plans supported by a financial plan. So here's the bottom line. The biggest retirement mistakes Canadians make usually are not one dramatic mistake. There are a series of smaller gaps between what people expect a retirement to look like and what retirement actually is. The tax bill and registered withdrawals, the OAS clawback, the healthcare costs that do not disappear when work ends, the longevity math behind a 25 or 30-year retirement, and the emotional side of stepping away from a career. Every one of those can be planned for. The people who tend to navigate retirement best are not always the people with the most amount of money. They are the people who understand the realities clearly, plan around them deliberately, and go into retirement with a more complete picture of what the next chapter actually looks like. If you'd like a more structured way to think through your own retirement plan, please download the free guide, The Canadian Retirement Tune-Up, link below. We spent a lot of time designing this for people exactly in your situation. It is a fantastic guide. It's going to walk you through key questions, trade-offs, and stress tests that matter as you get closer to retirement. Do yourself a favor and take a read through this guide. And if this video gave you something to think about, please give it a like, share it with someone approaching retirement, and subscribe for more straightforward retirement planning content for Canadians. I'm Kris Dureau with Green Private Wealth. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.